English Daily, the podcast.
Your English journey starts now. Hey, English learners. Welcome back to your podcast, the English Daily, the podcast.
Yes, we're so happy to have you here today.
Today's episode is all about how to think in English and how to study English alone.
That's right, and these are actually two of the most common questions we get from our listeners.
So whether you're a beginner or already speaking well, you'll find something really useful here today.
Let's dive right in. Anna, let's start with the basics. Why is thinking in English so important for language learners?
That's a great question, Jack. I remember when I first started learning English, I would always translate everything in my head. Like, I'd think in my native language and then try to convert it to English. And it was so slow and exhausting.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. Yeah, I did the exact same thing when I was learning Spanish. I'd think in English, then translate to Spanish, and by the time I finished thinking, the conversation had already moved on.
Right? It's like having a mental interpreter sitting in your brain, and that interpreter is always late.
Exactly. And sometimes the interpreter gets the context completely wrong too, which makes everything even more confusing.
But here's the thing. When you start thinking directly in English, something magical happens. You don't have that translation delay anymore. Your responses become faster, more natural, and you sound more like a native speaker.
Exactly. And I think another benefit is that thinking in English helps you internalize the language. When you're constantly translating, you're still treating English as a foreign language, but when you think in it, you're basically living in it, you know?
So it's not just about speaking better, it's about basically reprogramming your brain.
Yes, absolutely. It's about making English your default language for thought. And that has huge benefits for your fluency. Imagine dreaming in English. That would be amazing, right?
That would be incredible. I've actually had a few dreams in English lately, and when I woke up, I felt so proud. It's a sign that the language is really sinking in.
That's awesome. I remember the first time I dreamed in Spanish, I was so excited. I told everyone about it, even though they probably didn't care as much as I did.
That's the best feeling, though. It's like your brain is finally accepting this new language as part of its normal operating system.
But Anna, what if someone feels like they're not ready to think in English yet? What if they think their level isn't high enough?
That's such a common concern, Jack. But the truth is, you don't need to be advanced to start thinking in English. Even beginners can do it with simple sentences. Like, instead of thinking, I want to eat an apple in your native language, you can think apple or I'm hungry in English. It doesn't have to be perfect.
That's actually really helpful advice. Start small and build from there. I think a lot of people feel like they need to have this perfect internal monologue in English, but that's just not realistic.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's like building a muscle. At first, it's hard, but then it becomes natural. Your brain literally rewires itself to think in English.
And that happens faster than people think. I was skeptical at first, but after a few weeks of consistent practice, I definitely noticed a difference in how quickly I could form sentences.
Curious, Jack, what's your top tip for someone who wants to start thinking in English?
I think the best way is to start with simple words and phrases. Just pick a few things, like when you see a cup, think cup. When you see a tree, think tree. Build up from there. It doesn't have to be complicated sentences at first.
That's such practical advice. Simple but effective.
Okay, so how can our listeners actually start thinking in English? What are some practical techniques?
Oh, there's so many great techniques. Let me share a few that really worked for me. The first one is what I call labeling. Basically, you label things around you in English. Like, when you see a chair, think chair. When you see a window, think window.
That's actually kind of fun. It's like playing a game with yourself.
Yes, and it sounds simple, but it really trains your brain to think in English instead of translating. Another technique is narrating your actions. So when you're doing something, describe it in English in your head.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Like, if you're making coffee, you'd think, I'm boiling water, I'm grinding the beans, I'm pouring the water into the cup. It sounds a bit silly at first, but it really helps.
I love that idea. It's like you're creating your own internal English environment. What else do you recommend?
Another great technique is keeping a journal in English, even just a few sentences a day. And don't worry about mistakes. Just write whatever comes to mind. The goal is to get comfortable expressing thoughts in English.
What if someone gets stuck and doesn't know how to say something?
That's okay. That's where dictionaries come in handy. Or you can just write it in your native language and look it up later. The important thing is to keep the flow going.
I also love the Think in English challenge. Like, commit to thinking only in English for a certain period each day. Maybe start with 10 minutes, then gradually increase it.
Yeah, and you can do it during different activities too, like during your commute or while you're cooking or before you go to sleep. Anytime your mind is wandering, that's a perfect time to practice.
How long did it take you to get comfortable thinking in English?
Honestly, it took a few months of consistent practice, but I started noticing improvements after a few weeks. It's one of those things where you have to be patient and trust the process.
Patience is so hard, though. We all want instant results.
I know, right? But language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. The daily practice really adds up over time. Before you know it, you'll be thinking in English without even trying.
And the beautiful thing is that it becomes automatic. Once your brain gets used to it, it just happens naturally. You don't have to force it anymore.
Absolutely. It's like installing new software in your brain. Once it's there, it runs in the background automatically.
One thing that really helped me was thinking in English during specific activities, like I'd only think in English while watching TV or while exercising. It helped create associations.
That's a great strategy. Do you have any other tips?
Yeah, I'd say don't be afraid to make mistakes in your thoughts. It's okay if your internal sentences aren't perfect. The important thing is to practice the muscle of thinking in English.
Exactly. No one's judging your internal thoughts except yourself. Just let it flow and see where it takes you.
Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk about studying English alone. This is something a lot of listeners struggle with.
Yes, a lot of people feel like they need a study partner or a teacher to make progress, but that's not true at all.
Absolutely not. In fact, learning alone has some unique advantages. You can study at your own pace, focus on your specific weaknesses, and customize your learning to your interests.
Plus, you don't have to coordinate schedules with anyone. That's huge.
Right? I love being able to study whenever I want. Early morning, late night, whatever works for me.
But Jack, isn't it hard to stay motivated when you're learning alone? I mean, there's no one to hold you accountable.
That's a valid concern, but there are ways to deal with that. One thing that really helps is setting specific, measurable goals, like I'll learn 10 new words this week, or I'll listen to 2 podcasts this month.
Yeah, goals give you something to work toward, and when you achieve them, you get that satisfying feeling of progress.
Another tip is to create a study schedule and stick to it. Treat it like an appointment with yourself. You wouldn't cancel on a friend, so don't cancel on yourself.
That's a great way to look at it. I'm guilty of canceling on myself way too often.
Curious, what about resources? What do you recommend for self-study?
Oh, there's so much available nowadays. Podcasts are fantastic. You can listen to them while commuting or exercising. YouTube has amazing content for every level, and there are tons of apps like Duolingo, Babbel, and others.
Don't forget about audiobooks. They're great for improving listening comprehension while you're doing other things.
Yes, and reading English books or articles is so helpful too. Start with something easy and gradually increase the difficulty.
What if someone feels overwhelmed by all the options? Where should they start?
That's a great question. My advice would be to pick 1 or 2 resources and focus on them consistently. Don't try to do everything at once. It's better to have a few things that you do regularly than a long list of things you never use.
And remember, variety is important too. Mix listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Even if you're studying alone, you can still practice all those skills.
Another thing I love about self-study is that you can focus on exactly what you need. Like if you struggle with pronunciation, you can spend extra time on that. If vocabulary is your weak point, you can focus there. You're the boss of your own learning.
Curious, what about speaking practice? That's usually the hardest part to do alone.
Great point. There are so many ways to practice speaking alone. You can talk to yourself, record yourself and listen back, or use language exchange apps to find conversation partners. Also, shadowing, where you repeat after native speakers, is incredibly effective.
Shadowing is so good. I do it all the time with podcasts. You basically mimic the speaker's intonation and speed. It's like a workout for your mouth.
That's such a good analogy. Your mouth muscles need exercise, just like any other muscle.
Curious, what about thinking out loud? I know it sounds crazy, but talking to yourself in English is actually a fantastic way to practice. You can describe what you're doing, or narrate your day, or even have imaginary conversations.
Do you actually do that, Jack?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I'll describe what I'm cooking for dinner, or I'll have a pretend conversation about something I'm worried about. It sounds weird, but it really helps build confidence.
That's so creative. I think people would be surprised how effective these unconventional methods can be.
Let's talk about creating an English-only environment. This is something that can really accelerate learning.
Oh, absolutely. Surrounding yourself with English as much as possible is incredibly helpful, and you can do this even if you don't live in an English-speaking country.
Yes, your home can be your own little English bubble.
Let's start with music. Listening to English songs is such an enjoyable way to expose yourself to the language. Try to understand the lyrics, maybe sing along. It's fun and educational.
And movies and TV shows. This is probably my favorite way to learn. Start with subtitles in your native language, then switch to English subtitles, and eventually try watching without any subtitles.
That's a great progression. What about changing your phone and social media settings?
Yes, changing your phone language to English is such a simple but effective trick. You'll learn tech vocabulary naturally just by using your phone. And following English accounts on social media exposes you to the language constantly.
Another great idea is to label things in your home with English words, like put little notes on objects, door, window, mirror. You'd be surprised how quickly you learn these everyday words.
Can someone feel like they need to understand everything? Like they get frustrated when they don't understand a word?
That's a common struggle, but it's important to accept that you won't understand everything. Native speakers don't understand every word either. Focus on getting the overall meaning rather than every single detail.
Yeah, I had to learn to relax about not understanding every word. It's a process.
Also, don't be afraid to pause and look things up, but also learn to let things go. If you stop every time you encounter an unknown word, you'll never get anywhere.
That's great advice. And another tip is to create English-only times, like commit to only speaking English to yourself during your morning routine or only watching English content before bed.
Exciting! Consistency is key. Even small amounts of daily exposure add up over time.
What about podcasts and audio? How do you recommend incorporating those?
I love having podcasts playing in the background while I'm doing chores or commuting. Even if you're not actively listening 100%, your brain is still absorbing the rhythm and sounds of English. It's like passive immersion.
That's a great point. You don't always have to be actively studying. Sometimes just having English around you helps a lot.
And another idea is to change your music playlists to English. Create an English playlist for your workouts or your relaxation time. The more you hear it, the more familiar it becomes.
I also think it's important to find content you genuinely enjoy. Don't force yourself to watch boring documentaries if you hate them. Find shows, music, or podcasts that you actually want to consume. That makes learning feel less like studying and more like a hobby.
That's such a key insight. Enjoyment is the best motivation.
One last tip. Try to think in English during your English-only times. Combine the immersion with active thinking practice. That's a powerful combination.
So it's both input and output.
Exactly. Input alone isn't enough. You need to actively use the language too, even if it's just in your head. Let's get practical. How can listeners build sustainable study habits that actually last?
This is so important, Jack, because the best study method in the world doesn't work if you don't do it consistently.
True. I've started so many study plans that I never followed through with. It's embarrassing, actually.
Don't worry, Jack. We're all guilty of that. The key is to start small. Don't try to study for 2 hours every day if you're not used to it. Start with just 15 or 20 minutes.
Yes, and make it as easy as possible to start. Remove any friction. If you want to read in English, keep a book by your bed. If you want to listen to podcasts, download them so they're ready to go.
I love the idea of habit stacking. You attach your English practice to an existing habit. Like, after I drink my morning coffee, I'll listen to a podcast for 15 minutes.
That's a great tip. What about staying motivated when progress feels slow?
That's a tough one. What helps me is tracking my progress. I keep a simple log of what I do each day, even just a few words I learned or a podcast I listened to. It adds up, and seeing that record motivates me to keep going.
Also, celebrate small wins. Did you understand a whole conversation in a movie? That's amazing. Did you successfully order food in English? Huge accomplishment. These things matter.
Yes, we don't celebrate our successes enough. We always focus on what we can't do yet.
What about when someone feels like they're not improving? That's so discouraging.
That's completely normal, actually. Language learning has plateaus. You might feel like you're not making progress for a while, and then suddenly everything clicks. Trust the process and keep going.
Another thing that helps is mixing up your methods. If you've been doing the same thing for months, try something new. It can rekindle your interest and motivation.
And find ways to make it enjoyable. If you hate studying grammar, don't force yourself. Find content you're genuinely interested in, whether it's cooking shows, sports, or celebrity news, and consume it in English.
That's the best advice. If you enjoy the content, you won't even feel like you're studying.
Curious, what about people who say they don't have time to study?
That's usually an excuse, honestly. You can find 10 minutes here and there throughout the day, while you're waiting for the bus, during your lunch break, before bed. Those little pockets of time add up.
Exactly. It's not about finding a huge block of time. It's about using all those small moments throughout your day.
And if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Just start again the next day. One missed day won't ruin your progress. What matters is getting back on track.
That's so important. Self-compassion is huge in language learning. Be kind to yourself.
Curious, what about accountability? How do you hold yourself accountable?
I love that question. There are a few ways. You can join online communities where you share your progress, or you can find an accountability partner, or even just posting on social media about your goals can help keep you honest.
I also like setting reminders on my phone, little notifications that remind me to practice. It sounds simple, but it really helps. Let's finish this section by addressing some common challenges. What do you think is the biggest struggle for people learning alone?
I think the biggest one is feeling isolated. Like you're doing all this work, but you have no one to practice with or talk to. It can be lonely.
That's so true. And it's easy to question whether you're doing things correctly when you don't have a teacher to correct you.
Those are real challenges, but there are solutions. For the isolation issue, you can join online communities. There are so many Facebook groups, forums, and Discord servers for English learners. You can find accountability partners and practice partners there.
Yes, language exchange apps are amazing for this. You can find native speakers who want to learn your language. It's a win-win.
What about the fear of making mistakes? That's a huge barrier for a lot of people.
Oh, the fear of making mistakes. I was so scared to speak English for the longest time. I was afraid I'd sound stupid or say something wrong.
But here's the truth. Everyone makes mistakes. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. It's how we learn. And honestly, most people are too polite to judge you anyway.
Also, mistakes are information. They tell you what you need to work on. So instead of being embarrassed by them, see them as valuable feedback.
I love that perspective. Mistakes are just part of the learning process.
What about when someone feels like they've hit a wall, like they've been studying for a while, but they can't seem to improve past a certain point?
Plateaus happen to everyone. What helps is to change your approach. Maybe you've been focusing too much on input and not enough on output. Try speaking more, writing more. Force yourself to use what you know.
And sometimes you need to go back and review basics. It's not embarrassing to revisit fundamentals. Even advanced learners benefit from reinforcement.
What about dealing with frustration, when you feel like you're not making progress and you just want to give up?
That's when you need to take a step back and remember why you started. What was your original motivation for learning English? Keep that in your mind during tough times.
And remind yourself of how far you've come. You know more English now than you did a year ago.
That's so important. We tend to focus on what we can't do yet, but we should also acknowledge our progress. Every new word, every conversation, every podcast you understood, that all counts.
Yes, be proud of yourself. Learning a language is hard, and you're doing it.
Absolutely. And remember, we're all on this journey together. You're not alone. Okay, everyone, now it's time for our vocabulary breakdown. Today, we're going to learn 15 to 20 key phrases related to thinking in English and self-study.
These phrases will help you sound more natural in conversations about learning English. Let's get started.
The first phrase is to think on your feet. This means to respond quickly without much preparation. It's used when you have to make decisions or answer questions in the moment.
Can you give us an example, Jack?
Sure. When the interviewer asked me unexpected questions, I had to think on my feet. It's a great phrase for describing spontaneous situations.
I love that one. It's so useful in real-life conversations.
Next phrase, to pick something up. This means to learn something casually without formal study, like I picked up some English from watching movies.
That's such a common phrase, and it's really useful because it implies learning happened naturally.
Third phrase, to get the hang of it. This means to learn how to do something, to become skilled at it after practice. It took me a while, but I finally got the hang of it.
We use this all the time in daily conversation. It's such a natural expression.
Fourth phrase, to come a long way. This means to make significant progress. She's come a long way in her English studies.
This is perfect for acknowledging progress. Use it to describe how far you've come.
Fifth phrase, to stay on track. This means to continue making progress, to not get distracted or fall behind. I use an app to help me stay on track with my studies.
That's great advice for maintaining consistency.
Sixth phrase, to make progress. Very straightforward, but super useful. I've made so much progress since last year.
Simple but essential.
Seventh phrase, to feel overwhelmed. This means to feel stressed or unable to cope. I felt overwhelmed by all the vocabulary I needed to learn.
That's such a common feeling for learners. Good to have this phrase.
Eighth phrase, to break something down. This means to divide something into smaller parts to make it easier. I break my study sessions into 20-minute chunks.
This is great for talking about study methods.
Happy ninth phrase, to set goals. This means to decide what you want to achieve. I set specific goals for my English learning.
10th phrase, to keep at it. This means to continue trying, not to give up. Learning a language takes time, but you have to keep at it.
Such an important mindset phrase.
11th phrase, to find your stride. This means to become comfortable and effective at something. After a few months, I finally found my stride with English.
That one sounds so natural.
12th phrase, to fall into a routine. This means to develop a regular habit. I fell into a morning study routine.
Happy 13th phrase, to step up your game. This means to improve or work harder. I needed to step up my game if I wanted to pass the exam.
14th phrase, to get discouraged. This means to lose motivation or confidence. Don't get discouraged if you don't see immediate results.
15th phrase, to push yourself. This means to challenge yourself. You have to push yourself to use English in real situations.
16th phrase, to step outside your comfort zone. This means to do something challenging or unfamiliar. Speaking to native speakers helped me step outside my comfort zone.
17th phrase, to catch on. This means to understand or learn something. It took a while, but I finally caught on.
That's such a fun phrase.
18th phrase, to look something up. This means to search for information. I look up new words in a dictionary.
Essential for self-study.
19th phrase, to run into trouble. This means to encounter problems. I ran into trouble understanding the grammar.
That's a useful phrase for describing challenges.
And finally, 20th phrase, to stay motivated. This means to keep your enthusiasm and drive. Finding interesting content helps me stay motivated.
There you go. 20 fantastic phrases to add to your English toolkit.
Practice using these phrases in your daily conversations. They'll help you sound more natural and fluent.
Okay, everyone. It's time for our reflection questions. These are questions for you to think about after the episode. Take your time with them.
First question, do you currently think in English or do you translate from your native language? What challenges do you face?
Second question, which technique from today are you most excited to try? Labeling things, narrating your actions, or keeping a journal?
Third question, how do you currently study English alone? What methods work best for you?
Fourth question, what is one change you can make to create a more English-rich environment at home?
Fifth question, how do you stay motivated when you feel like you're not making progress? What strategies help you?
Sixth question, what is the biggest challenge you face when learning English by yourself? How can you overcome it?
Seventh question, how have you grown as an English learner compared to 6 months ago? What progress have you made?
Eighth question, what English content do you enjoy consuming? How can you incorporate more of it into your daily life?
Ninth question, what is one specific goal you want to achieve with your English in the next 3 months?
And finally, 10th question, how can you make your English learning more fun and less like a chore? What activities do you genuinely enjoy?
Those are all the questions for today. Take your time to think about them. You can even write down your answers in a journal.
Remember, language learning is a journey, not a destination. Every step you take brings you closer to fluency.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode on English Daily, the podcast.
Keep practicing, keep thinking in English, and most importantly, enjoy the journey.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Your learning journey doesn't stop here. Keep improving your English. Click the next video or explore more episodes we've picked just for you. See you in the next lesson.